let me highlight a couple of things before I start. I have been working in DG Agriculture and Rural Development of the European Commission for 6 months now. So my knowledge of the agricultural policies, circular economy package, vertical farming is still superficial. So I'm basically going to speak about things I know little about. But we are pretty good at that in the Commission. So let me start with, before speaking about circular economy, let me speak about the contrary to a circular economy, which is a linear economy. Well, we have had already a good deal of definitions, so I will go through this very, very quickly. A linear economy is a production paradigm where resources are extracted from the nature. They are transformed one or several times. They are they are consumed, and then they are disposed as waste. But waste is not only generated at the end of the process, it is generated all along the process. So a lot of waste is generated. And only a fraction of the value that is contained in the natural resources is finally valorized. So this has many inconveniences. First inconvenient, it is pretty inefficient. As I said, much of the value is lost in the process. Secondly, it is inconvenient from a strategic point of view, especially in a region like the European Union, where we consume a lot because we have a large industry, we have a large population, we have high standards of life, so we consume a lot, but we have very limited resources. So we are very dependent on the rest of the world for many of our strategic supplies. Think, for example, of fossil fuels, minerals, etc. And this makes our economy dependent and vulnerable. And finally, last but not least, a linear economy has many environmental problems. A lot of waste is generated in the process, and it ends up in the nature and degrades the natural systems. And it is an inefficient production system, which is on top of that based on fossil sources, so it highly contributes to climate change. So we come to the contrary of a linear economy, which is a circular economy. We have had already a few definitions. I have another one, which is not different, but it's not contradictory, but it's a bit different. A circular economy is an industrial paradigm where the resources are kept circulating in the economy permanently. The byproduct of each stage becomes the raw material for another industrial transformation, and in this way cycles are closed and resources are used one time and again, creating further value. And of course this has many advantages. From a strategic and economic point of view, as no waste is generated, the value that is contained in the raw materials is conserved, is maintained within the economy. As there is no waste, environmental problems are also minimized. And finally, for a circular economy to be a reality in Europe, a whole new sector needs to develop and new technologies are needed. And this represents opportunities for growth, jobs, new products, new services, etc. So it is not surprised that the European Union is interested in promoting a circular economy. It can contribute to many of our main policy goals, the current policy goals. For example, creating growth and jobs, fighting climate change, etc. So end of last year, in December, the European Union adopted the so-called circular economy package. In this package, there are 3 elements. The first one, and perhaps the pivotal element of the package, is a communication that contains an action plan to develop a circular economy in Europe. This action plan is meant to be implemented during the mandate of the current Commission. So it is relatively short term. After the action plan, we have an annex to the communication, which is simply a list of the actions that need to be put in place, and a calendar to implement them. And the third element in the circular economy package is a bunch of 4 legislative proposals on waste. There is one, if I remember well, one is devoted to waste in general, but notably to municipal waste. Another one is on packaging waste. Another one is on electronic and electric waste. And the fourth one is on landfilling. So these legislative proposals set a number of targets related to waste, targets on recycling, on landfilling, and then they introduce a number of measures for these targets to be achieved. I only have 10 minutes, so I go directly to the last part. What are the implications of this circular economy package, which is general, which concerns all the economic sectors, for the specific sector of farming and agriculture? Well, the first consequence, the first implication for the farming sector is that the farming becomes a key element in a circular economy. An economy that is based on fossil raw materials cannot be fully circular. To become circular, it needs to replace the fossil sources with renewable raw materials, notably bio-based materials. So this puts the farming sector in the spotlight. Precisely to develop a modern and competitive bioeconomy in the European Union, the EU adopted in 2012 a bioeconomy strategy. Again, the bioeconomy strategy is a program, it's a strategy whose aim is to develop or to set the necessary elements so that a competitive bioeconomy develops in Europe. Well, this bioeconomy strategy is currently under review, midterm review. And the main driver, the main element that is being analyzed in this review is to see how the bioeconomy strategy can be adapted, modified, to better contribute to a circular economy. And of course, for the bioeconomy of which the agriculture is an element, to contribute better to a circular economy, it needs itself to become more circular. And for this, it needs to reduce and valorize waste to the extent possible, to promote, whenever possible, industrial symbiosis with other economic sectors, to close cycles, carbon cycles, nutrient cycles, water cycles, etc. So you can expect that in future development of EU policies related to the farming sector, the concept of circularity is going to be a driver. Sorry. Yeah. So another important element is that the circular economy package includes a proposal to review the current fertilizer regulation. We have currently a fertilizer regulation that dates back to, I believe, 2003. I'm not sure. But this fertilizer regulation that is currently in force is mainly focusing on mineral fertilizers. Organic fertilizers and waste-based fertilizers are not really part of the picture. The new proposal that has been submitted by the Commission to the Council and the Parliament, so it is now in the process of being discussed and eventually approved, does include or does consider organic and waste-based fertilizers. The proposal that has been submitted sets minimum requirements for any fertilizers, be it mineral or organic, to be commercialized in the European Union. By regulating these minimum requirements, a market is created, an EU-wide market is created, and this is expected to promote the use of organic and waste-based fertilizers. Similarly, the circular economy package proposes that minimum requirements are set to use wastewater for agriculture and irrigation. And finally, and perhaps more importantly, as I said, circularity has become like a mantra in the European Union. Every time you go to a meeting, or every time something is discussed, there is the question of circularity coming on top of the table. So one can expect that in any future policy development, legislation, regulation, the question of circularity is introduced in a way, and the future, for example, of the common agricultural policy will consider the issue of making the agriculture more circular. Also, the different financing instruments we have will be used probably in the coming years more and more to promote circularity-related activities. I'm talking, for example, about Horizon 2020, which is our instrument for research and innovation, the rural development funds, structural funds, etc. So, what about vertical farming? Well, here I admit that I have more questions than answers. Vertical farming is a very specific subsector of the farming sector. So, well, as I said, I'm new in this business. I come here to this conference essentially to learn. So I am putting on the table a couple of questions. First one is on the challenges side. How can vertical farming contribute to a circular economy? In other words, is it possible to still reduce waste, to valorize this waste, to promote some kind of industrial symbiosis with other activities? And the second question relates to the opportunities. How can the vertical farming benefit from the different elements I have explained, which are included in the circular economy package? Will the sector benefit from this possibility to use residual streams from other activities? Or is the vertical farming able to profit from the emergence of new markets in the bio-based sector? So I leave you with these questions, which I hope will animate the debate. And I thank you for your attention. And, well, I will be listening to the next presentations with a lot of attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you.